Hi there, it's Natalie Topa, and I'm here in Arizona, in the US, and I'm about 10 miles from the Mexico border attending a workshop with Brad Lancaster, Omar Orejiron, and Kyle Thomas, as well as John Litzel, the excavator operator. It's been an amazing week of doing low-tech, process-based riverscape restoration. And we are wrapping up the workshop today. It's been 1 week of camping, not showering, hard work every day, carrying rocks, digging, building baffles. So I'm going to take you on a little tour of exactly what we did, how we did it, why we did it. And this is not going to be a short video. I'm going to take us through the whole system. I'm going to start with looking at some of the structures that we've built, and then I'm going to walk for a bit and talk about some background on the project. So let me start here. I did just make a video in the sand to try to show the entire system as a whole that we've been working on, but now I'm going to take you through the actual structures. So please refer to that other video to get an overview of the entire system that we're trying to affect. So as I mentioned, I'll get more into the background of why we're here and what we're doing. But this is a wildlife refuge. It's the home of an endangered quail I believe it's called the white bob quail. And so much of its habitat has been degraded for various reasons, and also outcompeted by some of the mesquite that we see here. And so our overall goal here is to use process-based interventions, which I'll get into in a minute, to try to recover this habitat, bring it back to life, bring it back the function of the hydrology, the geology, and the biology to reinstate this wildlife habitat. So I'm going to just jump right into some of these structures, and then as I'm walking down the channel, I'll give some more background. These structures here are called baffles. I am higher up in the system, in this catchment. This area is more steep. There's much more of an incline, and we're heading to a place where the riverbed or the stream bed will then bottom out and become more flat. And that is where we want material, sediment, soils, aggregate to deposit from this channel bed and deposit and fill in that area in the steeper, in the more level area, in order to, hopefully encourage water to move out of the channel and into a braiding or, just X-channel pattern to jump those banks and hydrate more of that land to encourage the growth of the quail habitat that we're here to try to promote, which is a low shrub understory of the forest. So the shrub, the quails live in these small shrubs. So we're in the steeper area here. There's much more of an inclination, and as Brad calls it, which I think he got from Bill Zedek, this is where a lot, like a conveyor belt, material is moving. Sediment, soil, aggregate, rocks, silt, all of this material is moving like on a conveyor belt. And that is partially because the behavior of the water is scouring banks and delivering that water. And so we wanted to encourage more of that activity. So we've started to create higher up in the system a couple of baffles here. This is a baffle that is a thoughtfully woven mass of materials, dead material, living material, greenery, things that are a bit more brittle, sand, rock, stone, seeds, a couple of different wild grass seeds, including the fodder for the quail themselves. So a few of us named our baffles. This is Bitchin' Betty the baffle. And what we've done here is anchor along this tree and created this whole structure. And the hope is that when water comes down this system, it's going to hit Bitchin' Betty and be forced into this bank, which is already eroding, and it's going to dig more and scour more of that material to deliver it more downhill. So we are intentionally we are intentionally behaving the way that nature behaves, natural process-based. We are trying to activate, catalyze the natural processes by which scouring and mining, quarrying of this material will happen. So Bitch and Betty here is going to hopefully send water in a more forceful way into this bank to scour and mine that material and help it be delivered downhill. Oh, this is another baffle, the same thing here. The whole point is to just, nature's a moving bus. We want to jump onto that moving bus. Let me just zoom out here a little bit. This is already activity that's happening. Now, usually we think, well, erosion is bad. Well, again, nature is dynamic. It's not a harmonious, balanced system. In Kenya, where I live, an elephant can knock a tree, over, that might fall into the river, be carried with rains, get stuck, and a lot of material could get piled up. And that naturally will send water on a whole new path, a whole new course. And over, tens and hundreds and thousands and millions of years, canyons are formed, new gullies, new landscapes are shaped by these events, because nature is dynamic, ever changing, ever moving, and it's autopoietic, it's self-creative. There are other actors that do this kind of work for us, like beavers. There's something called beaver dam analogs, as well as PALS, pole-assisted log structures. So this is not exactly a beaver dam analog. Let me just drink a bit of water, because it's not all the way across the river. We've done it at an angle between 30 and 45 degrees, with a pinch point of, we want to leave about cover 80 to 90% of the water path. Let me just have a sip of water. So we've created a built-in weak point. Water will exit here because it can. And it's also the natural path. We're just intensifying this behavior and this eating away. So between Bitch and Betty and the nameless baffle, that team didn't name their baffle. We're creating a situation where we're mining this material, and we want it to move down this conveyor belt. This is the conveyor belt. Shift this material towards where it will eventually end up, but we want to hop onto that moving bus and catalyze more of this activity. So I'm going to be walking here for a minute, and I can talk a little bit now about the background of the project. So as I'm moving down the steeper inclination towards the road and the flatter zone, this is an area that's flat and leveled out, and we know that because this is where sediment has dropped out. The minute water levels out, it slows down, and when it slows down, material that it's carrying will fall to the bottom. And that's where we get siltation and sediment buildup. And we know that here, this is where water is moving faster because it's carrying these larger bits that drop out. And so one thing I've learned this week is, this is a flat zone. That's what's called a riffle. This is where water starts to pool and deposit material. And here it starts to speed up. And we know that because the stones start tumbling here, and this is more of an incline. And so our eyes have really been trained this week to look at these signs that tell us what the water is doing. So, oh, look, here's a natural baffle. See, this is the natural process that we are trying to imitate. So, this tree through erosion has fallen, caught detritus, different organic material and biomass. And because of that, when water is heading down here, it hits this structure which sends it into this bank, which eats away at this bank. This is how rivers become into that snaking pattern of meandering. And so we're just here playing with sticks and stones, trying to observe the natural landscape to see how can we encourage more of the productive activity we'd like to see and biological uplift. Here is a natural mid-channel, structure, obstruction, obstacle. Because something fell here, or maybe there was a collection of stones that landed here, it started to force water to, split the flow. And now we have the scouring of both sides. So we did a few of these as well, mimicking what we saw here. Okay, so a bit about this project. Excuse my heavy breathing. I have asthma and walking in sand, and it's very hot here. So this workshop has been hosted by the Altar Valley Conservation Alliance in partnership with the location where I am, which is called the Buenos Aires National Wildlife Refuge. I can't remember how big the entire wildlife refuge is. It's big, and we have the opportunity to work in this section to see if our interventions will result in what we hope they will, which is greater hydration of the landscape where quails are likely to rehabilitate, come back and live. So I was in Kenya camping at another course, a master composting course with Peter Ash in Laikipia, and Jeremy Martin was gracious enough to post and share a flyer for this workshop in another Facebook group. And the minute I saw there's a free workshop with Brad Lancaster and other amazing restoration experts, I decided to get on a plane and come here because I knew it would be just a treasure pot of learning and critical thinking. And it's just been wonderful, the teaching style of the instructors, to get us to really train our eyes in reading the landscape. So yeah, it's been amazing. And let me take another sip of water as I walk towards the road. So after I get finished with this little stretch,